This is the audio segment to go with the blog post, A Crash Course in Terms, Expressions, and Equations. You hear the phrase term, expression, equation used a lot in algebra, and it's kind of funny. You just sort of take for granted that they're whatever, but a lot of people don't actually know what the difference is between, say, like a term and an expression, or an expression and an equation, and I decided to do a little blog post just explaining that. Okay, so the most basic building block when you're writing equations or whatever, you have terms which are made up of a constant and a variable, or you can have just a constant. Like 5 is a term, or 16 is a term, 3x is a term, or negative 7xy is a term, because it's just a constant multiplied by one or more variables. And these variables can have exponents. Like you could have 2x squared, or negative 4xy to the third. The point is that it's just a few numbers being multiplied against each other, and those numbers can be constants or variables. Okay, so you have a term. If you add or subtract some terms together, it can be one or more terms, then you have what's called an expression. So if you have like a term plus another term plus another term, however many times you want, that's an expression. The example I'll use in the blog post is 5 plus 4ab is an expression. And the first term in the expression is 5. And the second term in the expression is 4ab. You can add or subtract. Sometimes that'll depend on what the signs were for the terms themselves. So, like if you had one expression that was just 2a squared, and you had another expression that was negative 4b. Then when you combine them to make an expression, or they're terms, I'm sorry, you combine them to make an expression, then it, because it was a negative 4b, it'll be 2a squared minus 4b. So that's the general idea of an expression. You can also have an equation, which is just when you set two expressions to be equal to each other. Equations are what you mostly deal with as far as algebra actually, being used for something useful instead of just learning theory. But that's the difference between a term, an expression, and an equation. So you might be given some expression, and you'll see the instructions say to simplify the expression. That means to break it down in the most basic terms. For example, if you had 2a plus 3a, then if you simplify that expression, you'll get 5a. And that's a skill set all to itself, and that's important. So you can break things down to their most basic levels, and then you can have an equation, like you could have 4x plus 5 equals 17, and you would need to solve that equation, and that would mean to solve and figure out what the variable x is. So that's the difference between a term, an expression, and an equation.